welcome to the 2023 FEI Jumping World Challenge Final at the Ranch Equestrian Centre in Polokwane. Well, very good morning to you wherever you may be watching. Perhaps you're watching on Equestrian Live, perhaps you're watching on FEI TV, or perhaps you're watching somewhere on Clip My Horse TV. It's a very good morning from us here at the Ranch Equestrian Centre. We're based in Polokwane. That's in the Limpopo province of sunny South Africa, and it is sunny. It's going to be a warm day today, and here we are at the Ranch for the FEI World Jumping Finals. It is very exciting. Let's take a look at the schedule for today. We start off with the FEI Jumping World Challenge, the first qualifier. That is an A2 competition, so one round, quick as you can, least amount of penalties and the quickest time becomes the winner. Then we move on to, in reverse order of qualification, to the second qualifier. So the starting order will be in reverse order of qualification given the results of the first qualifier, and the second qualifier will be a competition, so one round and a jump off. Clears go through to a jump off, and then the final will happen on Saturday. So tomorrow, Friday, will be a rest day. And after the two qualifiers today, the top 50% will go through to the final, which will happen on Saturday. We also have the National Under-25 competitions today. This is a 1 meter 30, the first of those. It's an A2, and the second is a 1 meter 35 competition. So plenty to come here from the Ranch Equestrian here in Polokwane. Joining me this morning from FEI, and a long way away, we're going to be having a chat to the lovely Andrina Wieprestiger. Where are you joining us from, Andrina? You are based where? Switzerland?
Absolutely. I am coming all the way from Switzerland, but some of our athletes have traveled even further, so I definitely can't complain, and I am so happy to be here for this unique event. And South Africa has been amazing, and I think that everyone, no matter the results at the end, is gonna go back home with some amazing memories thanks to the organizers. I mean, look at this setting. It's incredible. What more could you ask for? And the horses are amazing as well.
It's quite an event, and it takes a lot to put an event like this together, and you are person chiefly responsible for doing that. You are the senior manager of FEI Solidarity. First of all, before we talk about the World Jumping Finals, which is what we're here for, let's talk about Solidarity. What is Solidarity and the purpose behind it?
So FEI Solidarity is actually the development department at the International Equestrian Federation. So our focus is assisting our national federation to develop the sport in their country. And we do that for all sports that are FEI disciplines. So that means that we have show jumping, we have dressage, we have eventing. Those are the Olympic disciplines, but we also have endurance, driving, vaulting, para-dressage, para-driving. So there's a lot to be done.
And are there world finals for all of those?
No, because the world final is on barter horses.
Okay.
We used to have a format back in the early 2000s when we had the finals for dressage and show jumping that were organized at PSI in Europe, which basically they sell horses. So they have horses on demand for also dressage. It's already hard enough, we estimate, for show jumping to get acquainted with a horse in a very short amount of time. Dressage requires also different skills.
Yes.
And so we haven't had a final in dressage in many years. Who knows? Maybe one day. But for now, only a final in show jumping. However, all of the other series that we now have a series also for vaulting, driving, eventing, and para-dressage, and they all have world rankings. So the idea of the whole competition and the concept is that amateur riders can compete on the same level playing field, on the same courses in their country for show jumping, the same tests for dressage, and they're judged on the same basis. And at the end, we have national rankings, regional rankings, and world rankings. So someone from and you'll see the list of riders and countries that they're coming from. So to have someone from Brazil who can compare their results worldwide with someone who's in Asia
Yes.
or in Africa is something. That's how they are part of the international movements and sports without having to travel all these distances.
Correct. Now, so Solidarity, all about development, leads us into this competition, development as well, which is what you've been touching on. Let's talk about this event as a whole. This is, we're here at the finals. It's 2023, but these are the finals for 2022. All the qualifiers were held in 2022, and we now get to the finals in 2023. But where did it all start? How does it work? Same courses all around the world, one course designer, except when we get to the finals. You explain the whole, how it works to the viewer.
So the format, and we've actually changed it because since the final is on barred horses, we wanted to make sure that the riders, once they get here, have also the required level that we expect. So we have 3 categories, A, B, and C. A being the highest, where these athletes have qualified last year, like you said. It's a 1 meter 20, 1 meter 30 competition. There are 3 competitions throughout the season with different courses, and there's a progression between the first competition and the third one, because the idea is again to increase. So the first competition is going to be mostly 120, and they end up their season, depending on how it's organized in the national federations, the country's calendar, they finish on 130. And out of these 3 competitions, there's a drop score. Only the 2 best scores for the athletes. It's a combination. We only qualify combination. An athlete that has several horses will have to nominate the horse with which she intends to attempt to qualify for this event. And so all around the world, like you said, we have a course designer that has been assigned by the FEI, appointed to design the courses. These, in total, there are 6 courses. So because each competition has 2 rounds. And so we get the courses, we publish them, then each country is responsible for organizing each competition in accordance to the rules and using the specific guidelines to build the courses in accordance.
And it's not just the course, it's the dimensions of the arena as well. So every course in every country or region around the world is exactly the same height, distances, specifications, arena dimensions. The only thing that might change is the arena footing.
Correct.
Okay. If an athlete has more than one horse, you have to nominate, and the nominated horse has to go first. So there's no added benefits in having a ride around the course to get a feel and then jumping on nominated horse. So it's very strict in the guidelines. It's very to make it as fair as possible. Best out of 3 scores count. So top 2 scores count, and the athletes are now coming into the arena. So these are the final 16 athletes that are competing here from the 2022 series. There's the South African 2. We're going to go through the athletes in a moment or two, but there were supposed to be 18, I'm told, but unfortunately 2 didn't make it.
Yes, unfortunately, that's the problem. Traveling across the world, especially if you're not necessarily used to, you might not be really on top of your game when it comes to traveling arrangements, and unfortunately our 2 athletes qualified for Iran were not able to get their visa on time to attend the final.
Okay, so we're starting, that looks like, with the Argentinian duo there, Valerio Barruzzo and Juana Ruiz Ocampo. Just behind them, it looks like Matias Caspidis Casel from Bolivia. Then we go on to our Brazilian athlete. Well, the pictures are going back to our Argentinian duo. From Brazil, we have Lina Capello Beltrao. From the Dominican Republic, we have Georgia Ana Iromazzo. I think that's a look at Matias Caspidis Casal, Bolivia. Algeria was leading the parade. That was Karim Mustafao. They're from Brazil. Representing Brazil is Lina Capello Beltrao. I am trying with the pronunciation.
I think you're doing a great job. I couldn't do better, that's for sure.
From Indonesia, we have Natasha Harjuan. Now, some regions have two, some regions have one athlete representing. Why is that?
So the original qualification system is we have 10 regional zones that take part in the challenge, and it's the best two per regional zone that will, based on the regional rankings, that will qualify for the final. However, there are some criterias in terms of also penalties.
Yes.
So they can't have more than 12 penalties that they've accumulated over the two scores that will be counted for the qualification process. So let's say in a country there's only one athlete that will qualify in accordance to those criterias, then the next spot will be given to the next athlete in the world rankings.
Okay.
So that's, but otherwise, yeah, we start with the region, the best two. If the first one can't go, we'll go to the third in the region up until a certain point, and then we move to the world rankings.
Okay. And sometimes circumstance just comes into play where a region couldn't get a second athlete here or for whatever reason.
Correct.
Okay. Total in a good year of maximum of 20 athletes in the final. This year we're fielding, we were to have 18, depleted by 2 because of travel restrictions, and so now we're down to 16. Morocco is Melissa Charlier. From Mauritius, Louise de Corliolis, I beg your pardon. From Puerto Rico, 2 athletes, Israel Lopez and Cristina Padilla. From Puerto Rico, those two. From Singapore, we got Christine Page Naya. From Uzbekistan, and a bit of a funny story here with his travel arrangements, Gairat Nazarov. We'll talk about that in a moment or two. And Zimbabwe, Nicholas Nicole. And then the 2 athletes representing sunny South Africa, we've got Erin O'Dwyer and Michaela Martin. What happened with Gairat Nazarov? He seems to be a popular guy because last night he was given an ovation when his name was announced.
I mean, it seems like we're always waiting for Garrett to arrive. I mean, the poor rider, it took him 3 days to get here. But he's here and he's determined to be here. That's one thing that's for sure. He's traveled, he's had issues with his flights, arrived in the middle of the night.
He speaks very limited English, I believe, so everything's going through a translation on the phone, and he didn't turn his phone on and didn't get his connecting flight and landed at our National Federation offices with an Uber taxi
middle of the night.
When he didn't need to at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Absolutely.
And had a very good Uber driver, I believe, who looked after him, took him back to the airport, made sure he got on his connecting flight.
That is all correct, an adventure. And then the next day again, you know, who was missing for, I mean, we've been running after him, but he's always shown up, you know, so and it is brave for him to come all this way.
There he is, Gairat Nazarov from Uzbekistan, man of the moment, missing his helmet. He's probably left that in the hotel room.
I hope that's where it is, if it's not on the plane.
Or it's on a connecting flight back to Uzbekistan somewhere. Could be right. But he seems like a very funny, popular guy, and he's enjoying himself.
And
he's
he's
full
very
of smiles.
much enjoying, and he's very grateful to be here. And I mean, it
Look at
took
him, a little
yeah, there you go.
twinkle in his eye.
Absolutely. You were talking about, you know, some commitments also for athletes to get here that is not always easy. I mean, it is a cost for them.
Yes.
They have to pay for their travel and also the dates. I mean, you see a lot of young athletes. So depending if they're in school, they might not be able to take that time off depending on the dates of the actual event. So it's true. There are many different reasons that could, you know, prevent them from coming. But that's why we're so happy to see all these faces from around the world and with their smiles. That's even better.
There is Nicholas Nicole from Zimbabwe. Flag a little bit smaller than the others, the Zimbabwean flag. I suppose he had to pack it in his luggage as well. Different ages of athletes. What are the age criteria? Because I've seen some teenagers, and then Garrett is in his 40s.
Absolutely. So, because the competition is a development competition, and is in many countries is the only what they would consider their international event, we don't put a restriction on age. So we start at 14 because the challenge is also a qualifier every 4 years for the Youth Olympic Games.
Okay.
So the idea is that to open it to that age group so that they can qualify through it and then also be able to compete the following year in the Youth Olympic Games, which is huge. But so it starts at 14 and there's no limitation. However, we do have some national federation that have decided, and they have the right to do so, to add requirements and criteria to the participation. And for example, Morocco, they've only opened the challenges to junior riders. So every year, if a Moroccan rider is qualified, it's going to be a junior.
And why would they take that decision? They have a strong fielding of adult riders
That
up
is-
there in the international
yes,
rankings.
Exactly. They have opportunities. They have a circuit, an international circuit for their adults. And so they really wanted to focus on the youth.
I guess when it's about development, that's where they want to concentrate on. They feel that they've got enough of a decent program for the adult riders, so that's where they want to focus on,
That
which is really nice that you give the opportunity to the federations to make their own choices.
And I know, for example, the Moroccan National Federation is very supportive of their athletes. And with everything that's going on right now for them, also in the country, it's also great that their flag is represented here.
Well, there are all your athletes, the two South Africans there, Erin O'Dwyer and Michaela Martin. What goes into organising a competition like this? We've got lots of officials here. We've got lots of delegates from the FEI representing. You've come all this way. There's not just the competition. There's the training days, the lead-up days, orientation, fun events. It's not just getting here, competing and sitting around. There's lots on offer.
That is one of the unique aspects of this competition. I always say on day one, everyone comes here to win. And at the end of the event, on the final day, you will have all the athletes cheering for one another. And whoever wins, they're going to be happy for that person. It's also a mix of cultures. It's getting to know people from around the world, sharing. I mean, we are all here because we love our sport. We love horses. That's what brought us all here together. And you can tell that even if you have a language barrier, at the end of the day, we speak the same language. And that's our love of the horse, a love of the sport, and it shows. It shows as you go into the competition day after day, and the event organizers have been amazing. The team that's been putting this event together has worked so hard, like you said, to not just the horses, which is huge. The venue is amazing, and the activities for these group of people from around the world to get to know each other. They've done super fun activities yesterday, and there's more to come. And the context is just amazing. So but it takes a lot. It's for so few athletes. It's a lot of work, and they've been amazing. And the welcome has been fantastic. The hospitality. I mean, whatever happens on the last day, everyone's going to go back home happy.
Well, the riders are now walking the course pitched by Kate Launder, who's our South African FEI 3-star course designer. She takes over the reins from for the course design from the course designer who pitched the qualifiers. Let's talk about the fact that we are now in South Africa. How does that work? Is it on a rotation? Does a country bid for the event? Last time we had it was 2014. Last year it was in Bulgaria. So who gets the opportunity to bid on a final?
So there is a bidding process, and anyone can put in a bid. There is really the hardest part of this is finding the horses.
Yeah.
Because if we have 20 athletes, that means we need 25 horses minimum of a level of 120 guaranteed. And we all know, if you have a horse and it's your horse, it's your prized possession, you're not going to let someone you don't know from around the world come and ride your horse.
Correct.
So that from an organizing point of view, that's one of the biggest challenge, definitely. And they've done an amazing job. And actually, the horse owners have been fantastic, because but you see also that's part of the community here in South Africa, the trust that is put in each other. If someone asks and that person, you know, is someone that you trust, you will provide the horses, and we see that it's a very close community, and the people that have been in charge of finding the horses are very well respected in the community, and that has helped tremendously.
Now let's talk about the horses, because you don't just get on a horse and ride in a competition like this. There have to be orientation days. There are rules around that, time limits. So riders draw for the horse. There's a pool of horses. There's a couple extras in case things don't work out for a horse and rider. But again, there are stipulations as to if you wanted to change, you can't just say, not really suiting me, let me have another go. What are those stipulations? What rules are in place for the orientation and then the warm-up sessions? How long are they given? What sort of dimensions of fences are they allowed to jump? How many fences are they allowed to jump?
So we're actually testing a bit of a new format this year, also with the format of the qualifiers. And because it was, you know, the horse welfare is paramount. So we don't want to do too much, but we want to do enough that the combinations have a chance to get to know each other.
Correct.
Because that's also part of the welfare of the horse. It's also a safety matter. And thankfully, they're all athletes, and the athletes have gone through a qualification process. The horses have been gone through a selection process, but that doesn't mean you can have a great athlete, a great horse, but they don't match. So usually the criteria are if it's dangerous, if it's really not adapted. Let's say a very small, light rider on a very big stallion, and the rider cannot control because it's too strong,
yes.
And there you see a potential for a risk, then we can consider changing the horse. If it's just, I don't like his canter, that's not going to work. Because you get it, you also have, you know, to be a bit lucky,
yes,
in these competitions. And sometimes the matches are just perfect. Just thinking of South Africa again, your athlete who won, now I have Thomas who won the youth equestrian
yes.
games in Aachen. He had the perfect match.
Yes.
But it was the same principle. He had to draw his horse, and it was a match from the start, and it's fantastic. So once the draw is done, athletes get a warm-up, a training, a first session, 45 minutes flat work. So just to get a feel, not putting jumps into it, really just the connection with the horse. Let's not start, you know, just take your time. So they have 45 minutes. They had 45 minutes in the morning, and then in the afternoon, they get back on their horse. They have a short warm-up, and then they have 90 seconds in the main arena so that they can also see the reaction of the horse with the jumps and everything, and to get them, again, a feel for the horse, this time jumping. There's a course that's built. They don't have to ride the full course. They can focus on only certain jumps. They have 90 seconds to do whatever they want.
Which is not a lot of time, so it's a quick adaptation.
It is, absolutely. There's a combination always. There's a line. Whatever obstacles they're actually going to have afterwards during the competition is going to be available during those 90 seconds. And then we come to a welcome competition the following day. Again, the idea is to put them in a competition setting, but without the pressure of the result. Mm-hmm. So, and you could already see during the welcome competition a little bit of stress, because, I mean, they're wearing their attire,
yes,
formal attire, competition attire. So there is, even though there's no real consequence to whatever happens, and it's, again, but it's quite important, I think, this welcome competition, because it's also to make some maybe more adjustments as you go in before the first qualifier that we're going to have in a few minutes.
Now, what about tack on the horse? Horses come with their tack, their bits. What are you allowed to change? What are you not allowed to change? So you've got a tiny rider who rides in a 16-inch saddle, and now you've got a bigger saddle that doesn't fit the rider. Are you allowed to make those kind of adjustments?
So the horses come with their tack, just because, again, to guarantee for the horse that's what suits the horse. However, athletes may come with their saddle. They can try their saddle. If the saddle is fitted for the horse, and it's really, we don't want any pressure points because, again, these horses
Yes.
are barred horses.
And
The
welfare
owners-
is first. That's
that's
paramount.
Paramount. So the athletes, they know it's in the rules. If their saddle doesn't fit, they're going to have to use the owner's saddle. And hopefully
Yes.
it's. But no, really, first the horse, and then the bits. The bits, again, when they have their training and their different opportunities to ride the horses, they will ride with the bits. However, if some adjustment might be required, stronger, or actually we've had our horse, they changed for a simple snaffle, so something much lighter. And if it's in agreement with the owner, then it can be. But it's the same with the spurs, all of that. That's really always in agreement with the owner.
And you've got a lot of officials watching very closely. I think your ratio to officials to riders is almost 1-to-1 here. There are a lot of eyes watching, so everything is controlled, very, very strict. I see a lot of coaches have accompanied their riders. Are coaches allowed to sit on the horses? Is it only the riders who are allowed to sit on a horse? A coach can't get on and have a feel and then give tips to a rider?
No, again, because we're just testing really also here the rider's abilities. So, and to be, again, fair, because not all riders travel with their coaches. And in the end, it's the rider that has to prove their ability. Where we're really lucky is when we have the horse owners that are present and know their horses inside out. So they can also give tips on what they know, because they're just, the riders and the coaches are just discovering the horses. So the